What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video, is mining still going to be worth it in 2023? Stablecoins are about to face some major problems. We've got some really big deals on some solar equipment, and I'm going to end on some bad news, and that is, I don't think the 4070 is looking too great for mining. But before we get into it, do me a favor. Hit that like and hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And let's start by taking a look at the market. So the time of recording right now is 6:40 p.m. on March 19, 2023. The market is looking great right now. Bitcoin is currently coming in at $28,236, up over 4.5% for the day and 28% for the week. And we've got Dogecoin up to 7.5 cents now, up about 2% for the day. Ethereum Classic, $21.41. Monero, $154. Conflux is up 21% today, currently sitting at almost 46 cents. ETH POW, $3.47. Ravencoin at almost 3 cents. Then we've got Chia at $39.17. Cadena up to $1.07. Flux currently sitting at 0.66 and not having a good day like the rest of the market, which is kind of surprising. And then Caspa is up over 17.5% right now, currently sitting at 0.01641. I think that might be an all-time high. Let's see. Yeah, that is definitely an all-time high. Awesome. Love to see that. And we've got Ergo coming in at $1.52, Darrow at $5.12, Cortex at 25 cents. Nexa is also having an awesome day, also up 17.5%, currently sitting at 0.00001146. Lithium having a great day, up 12%, currently sitting at 0.29. And Neoxa, sideways pretty much. And we got Raptorium also sideways. Dynex not doing great for today, down about 2.5%. Radiant is up over 5.2%. And then Hive Mapper up about 2.6%, and Meowcoin up almost 9%. Let's go ahead and jump into emissions over the last 24 hours. And you can see Caspa is getting very close to overtaking Chia for the number 4 spot in daily emissions, currently sitting at 351,000, almost 352. Conflux has climbed quite a ways, also currently up to 121,000 a day. Monero at 72,000, Ergo at 61,000. We got Flux down here at 32,000. We've got Dynex at 13.69 and Cortex at 12,000. As far as 7-day difficulty change, Bitcoin is sideways. Dogecoin is down 13.9%. Caspa is up 6%. Conflux is up 57% for the week. And then we've got Monero down about 2.7%. Ergo is up 9.3%. And what else we got? Dynex is up about 14.7% for the week also. And while we're on mining pool stats, I wanted to take a look at new coins and show you that we do have a new GPU mineable coin called Party Chain. And the fact that it has the word chain in it makes me suspicious, gives me flashbacks of Pink Chain. It is an ETH hash algorithm also. Looks like we've got about 12 different pools. Currently there is around 31 gigahash total on this coin right now. I did join the Discord trying to get to the bottom of what this is all about, but yeah, I don't have high hopes, but I'll let you guys know what I figure out. And let's go ahead and jump into profitability. So we're looking at a single 3070 at 13 cents per kilowatt hour. Right now Nexa is on top at 19 cents a day in profit, followed by Caspa at 14 cents, then a Lithium at 12 cents, Radiant at 6 cents, Chinet at 5 cents, Ergo and Caspa at 2 cents, Eternity at 2 cents, Conflux at 1 cent, Dynex is now negative at negative 2 cents. I'll scroll down a little ways so that you guys can see the rest. And actually, I want to change this 13 cents per kilowatt hour. Let's go 15 cents per kilowatt hour and see if anything changes. So Caspa is still on top, but Lithium now is second. Nexa is down to third place. Radiant has also moved a little bit. We'll scroll down a little ways. And now let's go backwards here. Let's take a look at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So Nexa back on top at 20 cents, followed by Caspa, then Lithium. China jumps up here to 16 cents. And Radiant is pretty profitable at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. And even Dynex is profitable at 5 cents. So while we're on hashrate.no, I do want to go ahead and take a look at CPU profits. So on a single 5950X, we got Raptorium on top at 73 cents a day in revenue, 36 cents a day in profit, followed by Bitorium at 60 cents in revenue and 22 cents a day in profit. Let's go ahead and back up a page and we'll take a look at the other CPUs. So we've got the 7950X coming in on top at 63 cents a day in profit, followed by the 3950X at 49 cents and a 3900X at 41 cents. And had I known that a 3950X and a 3900X would be more profitable than a 5950X, I probably would have elected to get one of those instead of a 5950X. But hey, it's in my gaming desktop, so I'm not going to complain, right? And then I also wanted to take a look at the change in difficulty over a couple of these algorithms. So we'll start out with Nexa here because it's on top. And we're going to go straight to difficulty. And you can see we peaked out on March 8th. And it's currently March 19th. And we've come down quite a ways. So it makes sense that Nexa's profitability is so high at the moment, simply because the price is pumped while difficulty is low. Let's go ahead and take a look at, while we're on it, we'll take a look at Neoxa. So yeah, we're close to the bottom here. Let's take a look at Radiant. So I've been watching Radiant's difficulty, and it is pretty close to the bottom. So if you guys have been watching the videos, you know that I said if we got back down to 1.28 or 1.27, I would probably jump back on solo mining, and we're getting really close there. Let's take a look at Caspa. So Caspa's difficulty is just continuing to climb, so we're at an all-time high now, currently up to 123. Let's see what hash rate is up to. So total hash rate is up to 533 terahash. Wow. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at a few others while we're here. Zill, I think, pretty much just stays pretty close to the same all the time. Well, actually, it is creeping up there. For some reason, difficulty's not loading. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the others here. So Conflux is one that's been pumping. Let's take a look at difficulty. It spiked quite a bit back in the middle of February, but it came down drastically, and here we are again pumping back up. Let's go ahead and take a look at just a couple more. Very curious where Flux is sitting at. Actually, let's take a look at Dynex first. Yeah, so Dynex peaked roughly March 17th. It came back down, and it's tough to say what it's going to do from here. And let's take a look at Flux. So Flux is the lowest it has been since, well, we go back 6 months, obviously. That's as far as we can go here on hashrate.no. But, you know, profitability is still not there. Let's just go ahead and take a look at GPUs as a whole. So let's switch this back to 13 cents per kilowatt hour. And as you can see, Caspa and Lithium are probably going to be the most profitable on the majority of cards at this very moment. But I'm curious where Flux is coming in. So I'm going to scroll back up here to a 4090. So you can get $1.04 in profit on a 4090 at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Let's change this back to 13 cents per kilowatt hour. So we're looking at 83 cents a day in profit on Caspa, 74 cents a day on Radiant, and Nexa jumps down to 72 cents. But how about Flux? Way down here, negative 46 cents. Ouch, that's rough. Anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about ASIC miner profitability. So at this very moment, the HS3 is on top at $17.23 a day, followed by the L7 at $12.54. The iPolo G1 is $12.46, the L7 at $11.96, the K7 at $11.60. KA3 is way down here now at number 8 at $10.51 a day. By the way, I remember when I first started looking into mining Kadena, I remember this video on YouTube, and maybe some of you guys out there have seen this. If you have, leave a comment down below. There was this hobbyist miner who was talking about his, I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was the KD box, maybe it was the KD Max. This was been about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago at this point. But he was making, you know, a couple $100 a day. And I remember distinctly him saying that, you know, he paid like $50,000 for it. And he refused to sell it no matter what. He was going to hang on to it until it no longer worked. He didn't care if somebody offered him $200,000. He would not take it. And I wonder how he feels about that now. All right, so we got the first Jazz Miner X4 coming in at $5.05. Then we got the X16 at $4.34. The SC6 is coming in at $3.95. And I'll just scroll down so that you guys can see the rest. And let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm currently mining. So most of the farm is on Caspa at the moment. We've got one rig on Dynex, and you'll notice I've got a GPU missing here, and that is because I sold it. I sold a 3080 out of Naboo, and I'm down to, I think, maybe 3 3080s at this point, and I'm about to sell a 3080 Ti also, and I'll be trading. Basically, it's an even swap, a 3080 and a 3080 Ti for a 4090, which I think is an incredible deal, and I can't wait to show you guys the 4090. Also, it looks like Alderon just went down. I wonder what's going on here. Let's reboot this rig. That's interesting. I never have stability issues with any of my NVIDIA rigs. Kind of odd to see that. Maybe my overclocks are a little bit too aggressive. So on the Dynex, Ecopool showing 2.32 kilohash, and then on K1 pool, that's Alderon, which we just rebooted. We were sitting at about 16 gigahash. I'd like to be closer to 18, but without that 3080 now, that's going to be pretty tough to do. And then a lot of my farm was on Nexa. I would say probably about 50% to 2/3 of it was on Nexa, but I just switched everything back over to Caspa. And I'm also mining Reptorium on my 5950X. I haven't been mining it very long. As you can see, only got 449 Reptorium so far, but I finally decided to get off of NiceHash. I just really irks me using that platform, so I'm going to try and accumulate as much Reptorium as I can. I see a lot of development going on there, and I see a pretty bright future. Let's go ahead and jump into a couple of things that I saw on Cointelegraph. So the first one was this video asking if crypto mining in 2023 is still going to be worth it. And really the only thing that I wanted to point out from this video is the discussion that they talked about Biden's proposal, which would place a 30% tax on miners, regardless of whether or not you're using renewable energy. And I just wanted to take a moment to listen to some of the things that this gentleman is saying. So here we go.
What do you think about the new Biden budget, where I saw part of it includes a 30% tax on miners and like Bitcoin mining operations use electricity?
Yeah, basically whatever electricity you use to run the miners, you have to pay. It gets grandfathered in gradually, but ultimately 30% tax on that electricity, which is, to me, absurd. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I did a bunch of research yesterday. I mean, it's something like 55 to 60% of all the mining electricity is renewable. Um, I mean, it just doesn't make a ton of sense why he's doing that.
Yeah.
So it feels kind of like an attack on crypto, but at the end of the day, I don't think it gets there.
Right. That budget's just not going to pass in the House, and it's basically dead on arrival, so there's nothing to it.
Or I think the worst case that I see happening, this is just me talking, is maybe if you're mining on something that's not a renewable, then you have to pay a tax on that. But to me, it makes no sense if you're claiming that it's bad for the environment to penalize a mining company that's advancing renewables. So,
And I would agree. It is ludicrous to penalize miners that are using renewable energy when that's the direction that administration wants to go, right? But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think that his proposal is going to get shut down? Do you think it'll get revised and that language will still be in the revision? Leave your comments down below and let's move on. Let's talk about some of the major headlines from today. So we got Bitcoin levels to watch as BTC price eyes highest weekly close in 9 months. And we've got UBS Group doubles offer and acquires Credit Suisse for $2 billion. And then we have U.S. midsize banks seek FDIC insurance on all deposits for 2 years. And then Sam Bankman-Fried shilled FTX risk model to FDIC chairman Gruenberg prior to the collapse. And SVB's UK arm issues £15 million in bonuses after symbolic bailout. And I think there was a couple other things in here I saw I wanted to go over. Let's see. Nope, nothing major. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Michael Barr for just a moment. So hopefully you guys watch Coin Bureau. If you don't watch Coin Bureau, I highly recommend that you give that channel a follow. Guy does an excellent job of breaking down some of the most important things that are going on in the crypto economy. And today's video specifically talked about some of the things that Michael Barr is planning on doing. So if you're not familiar with Michael Barr, first of all, he was a former advisor for Ripple. And this was prior to him accepting the offer from Biden to step in as the top financial watchdog. He was also, I don't know if I should say co-author, I think he was the main architect of the Dodd-Frank Act. And there was a lot of changes because of the Dodd-Frank Act, and it was a result of the financial crisis of 2008. So there is a very, very detailed discussion about his feelings on crypto. And specifically what I wanted to play from this is what he says about stablecoins. And I want to have a little discussion about that. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Because stablecoins in particular pose the potential for systemic risk if they're not regulated appropriately. If we don't have strong federal prudential supervision and oversight of stablecoins, they do have this ability because of network effects to scale quickly. And they are a form of private money that borrows the trust of the central bank. And I think that's absolutely critical that we get the regulatory oversight of that right.
So I personally think that a lot of this has been a direct result of their efforts to A, close the on and off ramps, B, set up a scenario where they can take down one of the banks that is providing liquidity to stablecoin providers. The big question is, which one is it going to be, or is it going to be all of them? Now, we know that not all of the stablecoin providers have their funds locked up in the U.S. A lot of that is overseas. For example, Tether probably has 50% or more of their holdings outside of the United States. But this is public enemy number one when it comes to crypto. This guy is orchestrating all of this, and you need to be aware of where he stands on this whole industry, because it really does appear as though this guy is pulling the purse string, so to speak. Now, in creating the Dodd-Frank Act, he created a role, which would be Vice President of Financial Oversight Committee, whatever it's called. But guess what? He created that role specifically for himself, which he now fills. And this committee has no oversight whatsoever from Congress, nor the Federal Reserve. In fact, he kind of tells the Federal Reserve what to do. So it's very important that you pay attention to everything that this gentleman says. And I'm going to leave a link to this video down in the description below. And I'm going to get off my soapbox. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about solar for a minute. So for those of you who have been watching the channel, you know that I did my own solar setup, and I think it was roughly about 30 solar panels altogether, for a total of 7,500 watts, at least what they were rated at. I've got a 6,000 watt inverter, and I didn't quite build it to the point where I would max out that 6,000 watts. We've gotten really close on a couple of days, but after I lost a couple of solar panels in 100-mile-an-hour winds, I decided to go ahead and pick up a few more while a friend of mine was making a trip to Arizona. So, you know, not paying shipping is a huge cost savings when it comes to solar panels, and I had to take advantage of that while he was there. So I added a couple more solar panels, and I have a few more waiting to be installed on the house. The rest of them are currently on my shop. And it looks like today is going to be the highest production day that I've ever had as far as solar production is concerned. So far today, we've produced 37.5 kilowatt hours, which is substantial. And I'm just going to kind of go back through all of these previous days so that you can see how well today is doing compared to the rest of the days. So second highest day was only 32 kilowatt hours, and last month the highest day was 35. Month before that the highest day was 27, and that was in January, by the way. And looks like the highest day in December was roughly about 22. And then in November, our highest day was 27. And then these 2 days don't count. That was basically pent up or saved reporting for the 2 days that it wasn't connected to the grid. So the highest day back in October was roughly about 32 kilowatt hours. So it's looking really good. Now, you probably noticed on this last 24 hours this huge dip here. And normally when we have a dip because of the clouds, you know, we'll come down maybe to like the 2,000 watt range, but we never go all the way to zero. And I think the reason that we're hit zero in this particular instance is because that particular inverter is only rated at 550 volts per MPPT controller. And I think we had a cloud, and typically after a cloud leaves, we get a pretty good spike because the solar panels are nice and cool, and so they produce more power when they're nice and cool. So I think what happened here is I maxed out the inverter, and it shut itself off and went into protection mode for an hour. Because as you can see, this entire hour we produced 0 kilowatt hours, and ironically we still produced more solar today than we ever have. And the day before that, you're going to see the same thing, but this was actually a result of me hooking up the remaining solar panels, so I actually had it turned off during this time frame. But speaking of solar panels, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. I'm seeing some really good deals right at the moment. Now, I don't have any affiliate links to share with you guys. This is just, you know, a heads up that I'm seeing some price changes for the better. This is a website called Signature Solar. This is where I bought my grow watt inverter from. The one that I bought is this 6,000 watt grid tie inverter. And when I bought it, I think it was It may have been $769 or $789. With tax, it was like $834 with shipping and all. But that's down to $749. And the one that I'm looking at getting is probably going to be the big dog, which is the 11,400. I'll probably wind up putting this on the shop and adding more solar panels. Someone that I'm very close to is looking at expanding my farm, and he basically wants to invest in this, and I think we're probably going to go with this inverter, and we'll have 4 MPPT controllers as opposed to 2 that you get on the 6,000 watt. But again, we're still limited to 550 volts, so something to keep in mind. But yeah, it looks like they've slashed prices. This one was previously $15.96. It's now down to $14.96. Then you've got the 10,000 price dropped $100 on that one as well. Looks like most of these dropped by about $100 or so. And then also I noticed that Santan Solar, the place that I'm getting my solar panels from, is having a special this month. So they've got a buy one get one free on a couple, and then a buy one get one half off. So I can't recommend these particular panels because I've never tested them before, but you've got the blemished Yingli 230 watt panels, which is buy one get one free, and the blemished Santan 250 watt panels, also buy one get one free. And then you've got the used Trina 260 watts, buy one get one half off. Now, I would probably be more interested in the Trina because it's not referred to as blemished. Typically the blemished is going to mean that the vinyl backing is cracked on the back, which doesn't mean that they don't function, but you have to be conscientious that if any kind of moisture or condensation or something like that gets in there, that can definitely present some problems for you. Now you can seal all of that with silicone. You can put a new backing on it. They also have snail trail, which is the ones that I have. And snail trail doesn't hurt performance. It's not cracked vinyl. It's just an imperfection, so to speak, or an appearance or cosmetic type of defect. But they still produce just as well as like a normal one would. Now, these Trina solar panels, 260 watt ones, are normally $81. But if you get the second one half off, then the second one would only be $40.50. Now, if you're like me and you can figure out a way to get these to your house without paying shipping, then that's going to be a really, really good deal compared to what you're paying for new solar panels. For instance, my neighbors, they have a 10,000 kilowatt system, and it cost them $44,000. I have a 7,500 watt kilowatt system, and I spent $3,000 doing everything myself. And by the way, if you haven't seen those videos, I'll leave a link to the description, or leave a link in the description below also for that. And if you are going to actually purchase anything from Santan Solar, like I said, I don't get any kickbacks from this, but this is the guy that helped me out. His name's Rusty Thatcher, and here's his phone number and his extension. And yeah, he's hooked me up pretty good, so I highly recommend it. So last thing I want to get into with you guys is the 4070 and why I think it's not going to be as good as a 4090 or some of the other 40 series cards when it comes to mining. In fact, it may even be worse than some of the 30 series cards, and here's why. So when we first got leaked specs on the 4000 series cards, I created this TPA calculator. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the channel, you understand what this is, but for those of you that are not, this is basically a formula that I created to compare cards, basically to be able to size our farm in terms of average performance as opposed to using Ethereum's hash rate, because the days of ETH mining are pretty much gone and over with. But look at the numbers that we were getting reported initially on a 4070. So 192-bit bus, 7,168 CUDA cores, 504 on the memory bandwidth, 2310 on the base clock speed, and 2610 on the boost clock speed. However, let's compare that to what we're seeing now. The big kicker is the CUDA cores. Look at this. We went from 7100 to 5800, which is dramatically lower. And then our base clock and boost clock is also dramatically lower than we expected it to be. Now, the memory size, the memory bandwidth, those things stayed the same, so no changes there. But, you know, compared to a 4070 Ti, this is a pretty significant difference. And the 4070 Ti stayed true to what was leaked initially. And when it comes to mining performance, I also have what I would consider a best guess type of calculator. I tried to predict what I thought hash rates were going to be on the 4000 series, and the 4090, the 4080, and the 4070 Ti, we pretty much nailed it. But the 4070, this is going to change drastically. So, for example, on ETH hash rate, we were expecting to get about 61 megahash at 130 watts, which was going to be pretty close to the best efficiency compared to all of the other 40 series, perhaps with the exception of the 4090. But if we adjust this, let me get back to it here. So we're going to change our CUDA cores to 5888. So let's go back here. And then we're going to change our base clock and boost clock. So base clock 1920 and our boost clock 2475. Alright, so we were sitting at 114 on the TPA calculator, and now we're down to 97.45. So let's go back to our hash rate predictor. And yeah, that does change efficiency by roughly about 5 to 10%, and we dropped hash rate. So, you know, maybe it's not as dramatic as a loss as I thought it was going to be, but I really don't think it's going to hold a candle to a 4090. And if you guys caught yesterday's video where I was comparing the 4090 against all of the 3000 series GPUs and why I'm going to trade out some of my 3000 series GPUs for 4090s, there was a couple of comments about that video where they were saying that, you know, I kind of cherry picked the algorithms. I just picked the first 4 algorithms that seemed to be consistently the most profitable. But someone pointed out that the difference on flux and kapow is not going to be as drastic. So I went ahead and added a couple of other algorithms in here, and I wanted to cover that before we get out of here. So the first one's going to be flux. And as you can see, hash rate, you know, the top dog is going to be a 4090, but what about efficiency? Well, guess what? It's still the top dog in efficiency at sitting at 0.44 as compared to best case scenario out of a 30 series. Oh, actually, we do have the 3070 coming in at 0.5, so looks like a 3070 is definitely going to outperform that. So what if we tried to get an equivalent hash rate to this 144 with the 3070? So let's see, we would need, let's say 2 3070s to get 134 megahash. We would accumulate a little bit less coins per day. Efficiency is not going to change, but we'd have a profit of 4 cents a day as opposed to a loss of 15 cents. And as far as revenue is concerned, we're still getting a little bit more revenue, but the big difference here is how much money you're spending on the GPU. So in this case, we're only spending $800 as opposed to spending $1,600 on a 4090. Now, how about lithium? So on a lithium, you're getting roughly 5.5 gigahash on a 4090, and you're going to accumulate 5.56 coins per day. and your efficiency or your hash per watt is 187, and nothing really gets too close to that except for a 3060 Ti and a 3070. So how many of these would we need to get to the same hash rate here? So if we did 5 3070s, that gets us really close, get a little bit more hash rate. Then we'd come in at 6.3 coins per day versus 5.5. Efficiency is still worse, but we're getting a little bit more revenue and a little bit more profit. But the problem with this scenario is we're spending $2,000 for 5 3070s at $400 a piece versus a 3090 at $1,600, hopefully, if you can get it that cheap. Now, anyways, so it all depends on the algorithm, but if you go back and you look at pretty much everything that is the most profitable right now, 4090 is just destroying all of the 30 series GPUs. And I think it's going to be great to have it to test for the channel specifically, but for me, I'm going to trade out a bunch of my 30 series GPUs. I am going to hold on to one of each 3000 series, so we'll have a 3090, perhaps a 3090 Ti, 3080 Ti, 3080, all the way down to a 3060. I'm probably not going to get a 3050, but I have everything at the moment with the exception of a 3090 Ti and a 3060, but everything else is probably going to be 4090s, guys. Anyways, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoy the content. Do me a favor before you go, hit that like and hit the subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.